Officially, your name is Nicholas Patrick Barclay, that you're born December 31st, 1980.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 documentaries about creepy mysteries.
Ég vona að þetta mál opni augum almennings fyrir því hvernig kerfið er. Við erum nógu skynsöm til að draga okkar eigin ályktanir.
That image forced a lot of people to say, that is the killer. That man is not right. Look at him there, drooling.
Steve had 22 witnesses at least, and there was one of them right there. And every one of us were called fabricators, liars.
For this list, we'll be looking at documentaries that examine unsettling or unsolved enigmas that send shivers down your spine. We will only be looking at films for this list, so docu-series like Making a Murderer won't be included. What's the creepiest documentary you've seen? Let us know in the comments below. Number 10. Killing Jimmy Hoffa.
I'm trying to help you, Jim.
I know you, but nobody threatens Hoffa.
Years before Martin Scorsese made The Irishman, a film that dramatized the final days of Jimmy Hoffa, this documentary explored the union leader's mysterious disappearance.
At 2:30, Hoffa called his wife.
Said, hey, you know, nobody showed up here, I'm waiting, have you heard from anybody? And she replied in the negative, and that was the last time she heard from him.
Killing Jimmy Hoffa delves into the many questions surrounding the still officially unsolved case.
They tried to have a meeting in Miami to mend fences, and at that meeting, Tony Pro threatened to kidnap Jimmy's granddaughter.
It also provides an insight into the character of the man himself through a number of different interviews.
A poll of the major truck driver magazine, in those days at least, showed that 83% of the respondents would vote for Jimmy Hoffa immediately if he were able to run for the presidency.
While some people praise Hoffa, others demonize him.
Jimmy Hoffa's dream was to consolidate the trucking industry. He wanted to control everything on wheels, which he managed to do to a great extent.
The documentary ties everything together by presenting a number of conspiracies that draw on both his connections to the mafia as well as his dispute with the Kennedy family.
People who hold responsible positions in your union come before this committee and take the Fifth Amendment because an honest answer might tend to incriminate them.
Number 9. The Life and Death of Marsha P. Johnson.
I don't bite my tongue for nobody. I tell them I don't want to be bothered.
Marsha P. Johnson was a hero for LGBTQ+ causes.
Marsha Johnson is our queen. Forever.
When her body was found in the Hudson River in 1992, plenty of suspicions were raised. The autopsy results suggested that she took her own life. However, many of Johnson's friends and loved ones were incredibly skeptical of this ruling and believed it was foul play.
At 4 a.m. in the morning on 22nd Street, he said that Marsha was kind of terrified and was being followed by two guys going west to the river. And was that reported to the police?
Academy Award-nominated director David France decided to tackle this mystery by following activist Victoria Cruz's attempts to sleuth out the truth. She relentlessly went after any new details about the case she could find.
Then that would tie in about Randy taking on the mob, the call that you got of Marsha being followed and her death.
Well, those pieces certainly fit together.
No matter what kind of opposition she faced, Cruz kept moving forward. Number 8. There's something wrong with Aunt Diane. Was Diane Schuler a perfect suburban mother or a reckless addict? This documentary follows her family's attempts to answer that question.
Their children are on their way home from a camping trip with their aunt. They just called my friend's house distressed, saying that the aunt is driving erratically.
Throughout the film, they try to uncover the truth behind why she drove the wrong way down the highway until she had a fatal crash.
The toxicology from that autopsy shows that Diane Schuler had a blood alcohol content of 0.19%.
Was the tragedy that led to her passing and the loss of several other lives a result of addiction, negligent behavior, or was it something more mysterious?
Danny doesn't want the other families to think that a drunk driver killed their families. That's why we are out to prove that try to prove that she wasn't drunk.
Diane's husband and sister-in-law set out to uncover more information about what led up to the fatal crash by hiring a private investigator.
As soon as we paid him, he disappeared.
But one question remains throughout. Are they on to something, or just desperate to explain the motive behind their sister's tragic actions?
Diane Schuler drives against traffic for 1.7 miles in the fast lane, never veers, seems to have a serene, almost oblivious look on her face.
Number 7, The Fear of 13. A good story is made even better by a good storyteller.
In the blink of an eye, you can look and 10 years are gone.
After watching Fear of 13, we can confidently say that Nick Yaris is one of the best we've ever seen.
You just been put here. The door was just still ringing in your ears because of the slam, and you're just left there, and you're like...
The way he delivers the tale is as compelling as someone telling an urban legend around a campfire. Yaris spends the hour and a half of the documentary recounting a story of lost lives, false accusations, and redemption.
I can't believe I have the key to my cell in my hands because I know I didn't kill that woman. I know none of my biological materials anywhere near her.
But unlike A Tall Tale, Fear of 13 is the story of his own life. Yaris tells us how he spent 22 years in prison after he was accused of a crime he didn't commit.
It took me from 1993 to 1997 to finally get court approval for the foremost authority of DNA in America to do the DNA testing. Hallelujah.
All the while, the mystery of who committed the act he was proven innocent of hangs over the grim story.
If you're gonna take everything from me, okay. Then instead, I think I'll give myself everything.
Number 6, Missing Mom. Filmmaker Rob McCallum invites viewers into his quest to solve the highly personal mystery of what happened to his mother.
I never believed the words she said. She could tell me anything, I wouldn't believe it.
So basically, the less we saw of her, the better it was.
25 years after she disappeared, he and his brother decide to try and find out where she went and why she left. The film addresses the feelings of abandonment that the brothers felt when they were left to be raised by their grandparents.
I always wish I knew what happened to her because she was important to me.
I really don't think she wants to be found.
The brothers navigate through false leads and sudden turns to piece together what really happened. Was the reason for her sudden and unexplained departure something sinister or just sad family drama? You'll have to watch the film to find out.
Hi, Lee. I think you're my mom.
Number 5, Out of Thin Air. The thing that makes the crime featured in this documentary so creepy isn't just the fact that 2 men disappeared.
6 ungmenni voru í dag dæmd í Hæstarétti fyrir að hafa verið 2 mönnum að bana. Með því lýkur máli sem hvílt hefur á íslensku þjóðinni undanfarin ár.
What really makes this case unsettling is how and why police manipulated 6 people into believing they had committed the crime.
Most of them had been in prison for a petty crime, thievery. They were violent.
Icelandic police were pressured to solve the cases of Geirmundur Ernersson and Geirfinnur Ernersson, who both vanished in 1974. Out of Thin Air chronicles how the police pulled this off despite a lack of physical evidence.
Ég veit ekkert Geirfinns hvarfið neitt, ég veit það bara hvernig var komið fram við mig. Ég draf hvorki Geirfinn eða Guðmund og ég ætla að fá rétt minn hérna og ég komin til þess.
The officers used barbaric methods to get 6 people to confess to the disappearances.
He had been interrogated 180 times for 340 hours.
This documentary ultimately examines how corrupt authorities can abuse power and create whatever narrative they want while making us doubt what we believe to be true. Number 4, Bigian Tupac. This documentary investigates the unsolved mystery of how 2 of the most famous rappers of the 90s lost their lives.
Former Detective Russell Poole has filed suit against the department. Poole says he uncovered dirty cops while investigating the murders.
The feature heavily suggests their final moments were orchestrated by one man. When Tupac Shakur lost his life in a drive-by in Las Vegas, suspicions fell on his rival, Biggie Smalls.
Pac is a strong dude, yo. I know Duke, you know what I'm saying? Right. He's real strong. So when they was like, he got shot, I was just more like, again?
But just 6 months later, Biggie's life came to an end in an eerily similar way.
In a nutshell, there was a hit taken out on Notorious B.I.G.
The documentary firmly points the finger at Death Row Records producer Suge Knight.
I mean, if you get a guy that constantly getting in trouble and never gonna come to prison, that's because he's an informant. He's a rat.
According to the theory, the producer colluded with the LAPD to take out Tupac and then went after Biggie to cover up the first crime.
Another example of how incomplete the investigation is and how they have tried everything or done everything to avoid the truth in the matter.
While the claims made in the documentary are debatable, the movie definitely makes for an interesting watch. Number 3, Brother's Keeper. There are two sides to every story. Brother's Keeper shows how these two competing narratives competed in the twisted story of the Ward brothers.
But life for Delbert Ward changed on June 6th, when his 64-year-old brother William died of suffocation.
After one of the 4 brothers allegedly took the life of another, the media descended on the small town. The family was portrayed as illiterate recluses. Meanwhile, their small community rallied around the brothers as local heroes after they had previously ignored them.
They minded their own business. They were different, as long as they didn't step on your feet.
In one version of the story, Delbert Ward ended his sickly brother's life as an act of mercy. Another take on this tale has the police creating a scapegoat out of a man who couldn't read.
A state police officer has the guts to tell the national television, I know he did it. All of a sudden he's judge and jury?
By showing all angles of the story, the documentary makes viewers consider whose side they would take. Number 2, Cropsey.
I love my sister very much. It's been 20 years I think I've had to carry for an incredibly long time, and I miss her so much.
An urban legend of a boogeyman-like figure called Cropsey once terrified children in the northeastern United States.
You know, we used to walk through here and you'd find beds and papers of people who have died here, so, you know, it kind of made sense to us.
This legend horribly emerged into reality.
A homeless man, 43-year-old Andre Rand, is under arrest. He is charged with the kidnapping of 12-year-old Jennifer Schweiker.
After several children disappeared in the 80s, a previously convicted criminal named Andre Rand was arrested.
That image forced a lot of people to say, that is the killer. That man is not right. Look at him there, drooling.
But there were a number of mysteries surrounding the case. Cropsey ultimately asks if the people who accused Rand were simply looking for someone to be a scapegoat or not.
He's got the evidence. We just haven't found it in the woods yet.
It also investigates the narratives we invent to make ourselves feel safe.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1, The Imposter. Changelings who seemingly become other people are supposed to be works of fiction. However, The Imposter describes someone who did this for real.
Ain't I beautiful?
3 years after Nicholas Barclay vanished from a San Antonio suburb, he apparently reappeared on the other side of the world.
She took me in her arms and she said, Nicholas, oh, and you were afraid I wouldn't recognize you. I would remember that nose.
He had different colored eyes, a new accent, and was much older than he should have been. However, none of that seemed to matter to Barclay's parents or the media.
First thing when you open your eyes is, officially, your name is Nicholas Patrick Barclay, that you're born December 31st, 1980, and that every family member is calling me Nicholas.
This documentary tells the twisted tale of how a serial imposter managed to trick the world.
I said, this guy's a fake. It's not him. I said, the ears don't match.
And my comment to him was, you need to be very careful that you don't intrude on a federal investigation.
By inventing false narratives, he preyed on the hopes of a bereaved family hoping to solve a tragic mystery.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.